Yeah, told you not to make me blush. And so when I come here, I don't want to talk about my successes. I'm not going to talk about winning the World Cup. I'm not going to talk about winning the German championship. I'm going to talk about my failures because through my failures, I've grown. Through my failures, I've had to be more creative, more intentional, and more mindful. For most of my career, just will wasn't enough. And not just will, but having to have a growth mindset. Something I wasn't really conscious of when I was younger, but now reading more about it, I had a very strong growth mindset in my ability to pursue challenging situations. When I played beach, playing older players, losing, and being okay with that because I knew I was going to grow. And so I'll tell a couple stories. I don't want to talk too long because the most value is questions from everyone else, because I'm sure you experience a lot of negative emotions while playing volleyball. Anxiety, being nervous, shame. Shame's a big one, right? Shame is tough. I feel it's the worst emotion in the world because nothing good comes from it. When you play with shame, you feel not only that I am not good as a volleyball player, but I'm not good as a person. And I've dealt a lot with shame myself personally. Very debilitating. Very, very, very debilitating. So everything you've experienced, for the most part, I've experienced too. And so I want you guys to feel free to write in the chat button if you guys want. I don't know how to ask, but throughout this, please write as many questions. If I'm here, I want to be as much value as possible. I have no time limit. Of course, I want to respect you guys, but when I speak to younger athletes, when I use my Instagram, I try not to use it for ego gratification. Sometimes it doesn't matter what I'm doing. There is some ego gratification, but I use it speaking to my younger self because it wasn't just me, how I acted and how I felt. I know there's so many more people throughout the world that, like me, passionate, not very confident, but curious of a better day. Because when I was younger, I got a late start in volleyball. I was a big basketball guy. I was a big soccer guy. Turned out that I wasn't really good at either. I was skinny. I was short. I was slow. I wasn't quick. I was on a call last night with adversity, and the coach is like, well, yeah, you had some great physical achievements, to get you where you were. And I stopped him. I was like, stop. I'm like, I still lose at line trips to middle blockers. Like the top 6 middle blockers in the gym, they beat me in line trips. I'm incredibly slow. I'm not quick at all. I have pretty good hand-eye coordination. And that's kind of how I fell into volleyball, or at least my success. But my story, I started in high school. I never wanted anything to do with volleyball. My dad coached and played a little bit, and he always asked me, do you want to play volleyball? And it was the same answer. No, it's a girl's sport. I don't want to play. And so I get to high school, and I won't go too deep in this, but I talk a lot about judgment, right? We're always judging situations. This is good, I put it in the good basket. This is bad, I put it over here. But it's not this duality. It's not black and white. Or people that are a little older, we realize this, right? A lot of bad situations turn out to be the biggest blessings in our life. And I'll go over a couple of these for myself as well, because that's almost all I know. I almost hope for suffering, for bad news, because within these moments I grow exponentially. Which I just got bad news the other day. My team just told me that they're going to cut my contract for this year and for next year. And so that's another fun roadblock I'm going through right now. It doesn't stop when you're a pro. But so my story, I get to high school, and one of these good, bad judgments of me, I went to high school where none of my friends went to. I had no friends. It sucked. And it was actually really, really sad and lonely, because a lot of times I did not fit in at all. A lot of times I would go and have lunch with my dad in his classroom by myself because I just really didn't fit in. And so after soccer season, the head coach for volleyball asked my dad, do you want to coach freshmen? I know your son is a freshman now. He asked me once again, and my answer this time was, no, it's a girl's sport. But, I found out some of my teammates from soccer were going to try out for the volleyball team, and I was like, oh, another chance to make friends. It's like, I'm going to try it. And I did it. It was great. My dad was teaching me how to play. My arms hurt. I was like, Dad, I don't think this is how you play. I had no clue what I was doing. But I went full into it. I loved it. it was just so much fun. We won more league, which, you know, obviously not a big deal, especially the freshmen. And after that, you know, I made a club team. And I was like, wow, I made a club team. I came from the soccer culture where it's pretty hard to make a club team. So making it on my first try, I was like, wow, I'm amazing. And then I heard we were going to go to this tournament called JOs. I was like, what's JOs? Someone told me it was Junior Olympics. And I was just like, wow, it was so amazing, like patting myself on the back. I was like, I'm the best, I'm the best. And so I went to JOs on a second team, and we played in the club division. I think it's still the same. There's open and club. We played on the club division, and in the last game, we played a team from Maryland, lost, and that locked us up for last place in the tournament. And so I was very humbled with my Nike wristbands. You know, I don't know what those were for, but I had them. Very humbled, and I realized three things. One, I love volleyball. So much fun. I wasn't very good, but these moments, right? Getting a pancake, setting the ball back, perfect. Getting an ace. It's amazing. You know, these like epiphanies where it's just like the game is so beautiful. But the second thing I realized is I wasn't good. You know, this was the first time I saw other teams. And I realized I'm not very good, especially if I'm losing to teams from Maryland. I'm not really good. And the third was, well, I love it. I'm not very good. I got to find a way to be better. And so I was very naive, and I didn't know what to do. But I had this weird and deep belief with hard work, why not me? And so that's what I did. And again, one of these things that I judged, you know, not having friends, being so awful, turned out to be one of the best things in my life, because I didn't have any social engagements. I didn't have any parties to go to. I didn't have any times to hang out with friends. And so every day I woke up, my dad being a teacher also had the summer free. We'd go in his van again down to the beach, and we just get whooped by old guys every day, just getting whooped by old guys. One of the old guys was Butch May, so it wasn't that bad. But, you know, I just lost, and I lost, and I lost, and I lost. And I loved it. And I loved it because I started so low that the only place for me to go was up. And that's what I did. I tried to fail up, just keep on failing, knowing that I would keep on getting better. When I go home, my brother was 10. I taught him how to pepper. We'd play until he got bored. But, hey, that's fine. Hit the ball off the wall, hit the ball on the roof, bounces off the gutter. I try to pass it perfect. I would do sometimes, I would throw on the stairs and wait for the last second, stare to hit, and then try to recover it. And then I would draw a bullseye, put it on my parents' wall, set myself, set the bullseye, set the bullseye. And, you know, for as much as I worked, it didn't really go like that. The next year, I was on a 16s2 team. And then the next season, I was on a 15s1 team, this time as a backup setter. But I just wanted to be on a better team that could compete at a higher level. Same thing in beach. When I played beach, I played some youth tournaments, but I tried to play adult to push myself. And so high school, you know, it wasn't amazing. Club went pretty well. At the end of my senior year, I stayed on that young team. We got a gold medal at JOs. I went from last to first, but still it wasn't that big of a deal. The team I was playing was a younger team. And so I went to Long Beach, redshirted. Freshman year, I really didn't play. Sophomore year, I really didn't play. Junior, senior year, I played. And eventually I was an All-American. But again, it wasn't, not just a straight line. The first year out of college, I didn't get a contract. And then the second year out of college, I got a contract to this strange country that I had never heard before, a place called Finland. What's Finland? Well, as it turns out, it's a place that's really dark, really cold, but with amazing people. And it was quite the contrast going from 77 degrees every day in California and Finland, where it was 1 week sunny, 2 weeks rainy, and then 7 months below zero. And a lot of athletes from America go to Finland. And usually it's a one and done. And it's so easy. And I get it because, you know what? We see the scarcity in it. Kind of like right now in this moment, right? There's a lot of things we can't control. And we only see the lack and the scarcity and the things that are being taken away from us. That's what we focus on because it's easy, right? It's difficult to be mindful. We have to work on it. But for me, another great situation was not having a contract that first year. Because that whole year, I was just like, I want to play volleyball so bad. I want to play volleyball so bad. I was working with now the assistant coach from Nebraska, Tyler Hildebrand, who was coming off an injury. And all we do was just set back and forth for 30 minutes. That was our practice. We would lift every day, but that was the extent of volleyball. And so when I got to Finland, for most people, it's like, it's dark, it's cold. I don't have family. I don't have friends. My girlfriend's at home. The team isn't that good. We aren't winning. You just easily focus on the scarcity. Kind of like right now. I have no volleyball. I have to stay at home. This isn't fair. My mom and dad are bugging me all day. I was living with my parents for a month, so I can say this. I'm not saying that you guys are saying it. I'm saying this. And but for me, it was the first lesson of kind of failing, but the hidden message in that failure, and that was gratitude for me. It wasn't that I had to be in Finland. It was dark. It was cold. It was like, wow, I get to be in Finland. Wow, like it's snowing. Wow, I get to run to practice. Wow, I get to play again. And every day was the best day ever because I got to do it. It wasn't something that it left me as the victim of like feeling that there was so much lack, scarcity. Woo! I had my computer on a blender. That was quick. But it was a big thing of gratitude. And at that time, again, it was all will. It was all will for me. And for the first year, it worked out pretty well. I got the Best Libero Award, and I felt amazing. Again, I was kind of patting myself on the back. I was like, oh, I'm so great. And so I left Finland. I was like, all right, goodbye. Say goodbye to all my friends, my girlfriend. Just never probably going to see you guys again. Had to come back. No team wanted to sign me. I didn't know what I did. It's like, I played great. I got all of the words. But you know what? No team took a chance on me. So I went back with a very smart idea, which now I know is very naive, that not only I would play well again, something that's not completely within my control, but the team would do well. Something else that's not completely within my control. Even if I put all my energy, my effort, hard work into these things, there's a chance it doesn't manifest. It's not up to me in these things. What I learned later in my life, and just last year, I'm still learning. I'm still learning as I go. The things that are completely up to us, our ability to set goals, our intention, our effort, our actions, our words, our ability to be a good teammate, our ability to love, even against those that sin against us, or maybe we feel don't deserve it, and our ability to perceive all the things that we can't control. And what is it? Those things that are not within our control. Making the one team, making the varsity team. Again, this is someone else's perception of us, right? Doesn't even matter how good we are, how great of a teammate we are. Someone else's perceptions. Playing well. Going to a tournament and playing well. For a D1 coach choosing you. I like using an example, girlfriend or boyfriend. You can be loving, you can be very charismatic, you can be very thoughtful, but you can't control how that person perceives you. Your reputation is not up to you. And so I learned this last year in a hard way, in a very hard way. I'll get to that a little bit later. But so my first year, it was all will and it worked out. Second year, all will, but I had this attachment on the goal. And I had an attachment on a goal that I didn't have complete control over. And so the big thing for me was I was creating my own suffering because it was looking like these attachments, these goals weren't going to be accomplished by me. So I started pressing more. I started stealing balls. I started being more aggressive. I started yelling. I was losing my mind. It got to one point where I went with my ex-girlfriend. We went outside. It's like, come with me outside. I took some Mandarins. I just started hucking them as far as I could. I just lost it. And at that time, I hit not a big rock bottom, but as low as I could as a professional athlete because I knew if I continued, I wouldn't get another contract and I would be done. And so that time I called my mom and I was like, send me as many sports psychology books as you can. And so with one of the books I started reading, I discovered this concept of a list. And the idea was creating a list of habits, micro tasks that would align with your growth. And so at the time, again, it was will, right? So I'm going to work out every day. I'm going to start stretching because this was important. I didn't really stretch. And I'm going to read a little bit every day. The last one, I was a big gamer and I don't want to give up games yet. And so I was like, all right, in between games, I'll do a little sit-ups and I'll do some push-ups. And so When I accomplished these tasks, I would highlight. If I didn't accomplish, I would circle. And throughout the week, I would do it. And I would notice correlation throughout the week after the game went. How well I prepared and accomplished those goals and tasks compared to how well I played. In the weeks where I was lazy, I wasn't prepared, and I did what felt was the easiest, play video games, watch Netflix, I didn't play that well. And so this was kind of the first realization that there was a better way to train. There was a better way to prepare. I could be more intentional. I could be more mindful. And throughout my career, that's all it's been. It's been failing and failing and failing. My level is, compared to other liberos that I play against now, is very low. I was 24 when I first got my start in one of the lowest leagues. Pretty much it would be like a JC league in Europe. A lot of guys I play against now, at 18, they're playing and starting in the best league in the world, training with the best players every day, playing against even better players in matches. And so I realized if I wanted to get into those leagues, I had to be much more mindful and intentional each and every day. And so that list has ballooned out to 24 items. Items such as meditating 3 times a day, journaling, being intentional with the work I'm doing today rather than leaving it up to chance, reading a little bit. This year I started writing more, stretching before bed, eating clean, not eating junk food or fast food, not drinking soda, not drinking alcohol. All these different things I realized I can either add to my journey or I can shed away from me, allowing more time to pursue those things I know will lead to my growth. And not everyone want to go all in, but I know there's so many kids out there like me who are so passionate and believe in themselves. But at the same time, there's like that little hesitation where it's like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can make varsity. Am I good enough for D1? And the thing is, for me, use that goal as a compass. It's not salvation. Even if you make it through the finish line, life isn't going to end there. There's still going to be challenges. Use it as a compass. If I want to be an NCAA Division I player, what actions do an NCAA Division I player, what would they embody? Would they be spending 5 hours a day watching Netflix, 4 hours a day playing Call of Duty? Maybe, but probably not. They'd probably be journaling, working on contention, getting in practice early, getting extra reps, being the best teammates they can be, realizing what is truly within their control. And so rather than having attachment to things not in our control, causing that suffering, we have more time, focus, and energy to build our best self with our efforts, our ability to set goals, our actions, and our intention throughout the day. And so again, throughout my career, it hasn't always been like this because I've grown so much, but still, even last year, kind of going back to this dichotomy of control, really understanding those things that are completely within our control, those things that are not completely within our control. I signed in Berlin. For those that know about international volleyball, Berlin is one of the biggest teams in Europe. And the German league isn't that strong, but Berlin does really well in Champions League, and they just crush the German league. Absolutely crush them. This year they were 35-0. Crushed it. And so when I got there, my ego felt great, right? I'm coming. I'm the Berlin libero. Because they only signed one libero. I'm the Berlin libero. I'm big time. Mentally, physically, even emotionally, felt I was, at the highest level I've ever been. And we get there. Immediately we lose the Super Cup, which was the number 1 team and the number 2 team of the previous season. We lose that. Okay, not a big deal. We start losing to bad teams, average teams. We keep on losing. And so one day the president came to practice, and he told us that the team was going to get a new player. And I was so excited. I was like, oh, finally, about time. Like, who is it? Is it going to be a setter? Outside? Opposite? I think outside. A libero that I knew, a French libero that played for a French coach for 5 years. And immediately my heart sunk, But okay, I'm mentally tough, right? So I go home, I journal, I write down my thoughts, because it's so important when we have these thoughts, these limiting thoughts, that we write it out, we clean it out, right? So I wrote it down, and I was like, this is great. Competition. I love competition. When I have competition, I'm at my best. And so if I'm at my best for competition, then I should love this opportunity. Great. 2 days later, we had our next game, and I was wearing the DS jersey, and the other guy was starting. And that was it. We kept on losing. until our president finally pulled the plug and got a new setter. We got one of the best Russian setters ever. And after that, we won every game. We crushed everyone. I was still in the box. Still in the box. My arms crossed like this. Because even though my dad and my mom always have the best interest for me, they did one thing that set me off and brought my ego into play. My dad sent me the stats. Because usually I don't look at stats. Again, how I analyze myself is my preparation, how I competed, how I bounced back, how present I was, and how I was as a teammate. If I wasn't playing well, did I go off to the side, or was I external and stayed with my teammates? And then I can also watch the video as well. I don't want to look at stats. My dad sent me the stats, and I thought I was playing okay. Turns out I was playing great. I was the best digger in the league, the second best receiver, and I don't know why they had the stat, but I was the best setting libero in the league. And my ego loved this, right? Because now it was someone else's fault. That's right, it's not my fault. It's that fault. It's the president's fault. The coach, it's corruption, collusion. I should be playing. I'm a great teammate. I work hard, and I'm playing well. I should be playing. It's not fair. This isn't right. And I didn't realize the opportunity that was given to me. And I suffered so much because that resentment, that anger, that frustration, that resistance, and looking throughout the year, the coach and the president as my enemy. How dare they? How could they? It's not right. So we won the championship. I go back to USA and almost the same thing. It was the first year that we were hosting the VNL tournament. And so it didn't matter what we did in the preliminary rounds. We could travel anyone. And that's what the coach did. And he told me, don't be alarmed, but we're going to travel you and the other 2 younger liberos the same amount of events. It's like, okay. The other liberos, the younger liberos that had never been on the team before, played more than me. I was like, what's going on? What is going on? But okay, the final 6, the final round, I'll travel. Because I've traveled the last 4 or 5 years. I'll go. I ended up taking 3 setters. What's going on? This isn't fair. I should be there. I'm a part of this team. You're taking money away from me, from my wallet. It's not right. And so I came across this doctrine, dichotomy of control, something that was thought about 2,000 years ago by this man named Epictetus. And again, there's some things that are completely within our control, things that are up to us, some things that are not completely within our control, things that aren't up to us. My ability to be on the team, to make the roster, to be chosen, to play, to get that money, those things were not up to me. But I was suffering because I had an attachment that I believed it should happen because I play well, I train hard, I'm a good player, I'm great with the team. And so I realized this, and I was so thankful, finally, an end to my suffering. Because from there I pivoted. Instead of focusing on the things that weren't in my control, that I believed should have been working out, I decided to focus on all the things within my control. Most importantly, my ability to set goals. And so my goal was making the Grand Championship Cup. Because in the second half, we have another tournament we go to. And so, again, using the goal as a compass, I decided to align my actions with that compass, leading me there. So what can I do? I decided I would wake up every morning early. I would meditate. I'd make breakfast, get in the car, work with a visualization coach. I hired a visualization coach. Get to practice early, get extra reps. After practice, get extra reps. Do extra conditioning, stretch, go home, read about mindset and mentality, make sure I'm eating clean, no fast food, stretch before bed, roll before bed, meditate before bed, get to bed early, get 9 hours of sleep. And you know what happened? It correlated to me having one of the best blocks of my career. And so finally a day came to write the names on the board. And there's 14 names, and mine was not one of them. And I realized at that moment, yes, it hurt. But as soon as I felt the hurt, I realized that was not completely within my control going on that roster. What was completely in my control was to congratulate the guys that did make it. And that's what I did. I gave them all hugs, my brothers, wished them well. And then the other thing that was completely in my control was going in and getting a great lift. I could have just got in my car and went home, But, I had the opportunity to get in a great lift, and that's what I did. And so we have these choices all throughout the day. We have so many choices, and being more aware of them can guide us closer towards our goals using those as a compass. And so I have lots of other stories of how I failed, but I want to definitely leave it open to questions, because I believe that's where the most value comes from, in addressing your guys' questions, needs, concerns, anxieties, because everything that you feel, especially on the court, I felt tenfold. And luckily, I've been in a situation where it was, do or die. If I didn't change, if I didn't find a better way, I lose my contract, I lose my job. And so I've had to be very creative, very intentional, very mindful throughout my career, and always finding a better way, not only to train, but a better way to work outside of training, to make sure I'm as prepared and confident as possible to start the game, and as present and resilient when those challenges come up throughout the game. Because even though I play at a high level, I'm still going to get aced maybe 5 times a game. After that 5th ace, how do I come back? Because it's easy if you pass well, come back and say, come on, 4 balls perfect in a row, I want the 5th. What do you do to get aced 5 times in a row? You just hang your head? No, it's a choice. It's a choice to be present. Maybe we can't be 100% focused, confident, and clear, but you know what? Maybe we can be 92 rather than being 10, and just looking to the coach and just like, sub me out. And so happy to be of service. Any questions, please. Happy to help any way I can.
If you guys have questions, put them in the chat. I have a question for you, Dustin, to start this off kind of. So you talked about how you always pushed yourself and you were not really afraid to fail pretty much ever. Where did that mindset kind of come for you, and how did you instill that in yourself, or was it from your parents? Was it from?
Yeah, so both. When I was younger and I competed, whether my parents were conscious of it or not, what they said to me after games was, we're proud how you competed. Again, this is something that's completely within my control, how I compete, how I show up, how I compete, completely within my control. And there was also times where they said, hey, we're not proud how you competed. Because I was a little punk when I was younger. I used to curse and kick balls on the beach. I was a little punk at times. But there was times too where I didn't play well. And I remember one time there was a coach watching me, a D1 coach, and I played awful. I was hanging my head. My parents came up to me and said, we're proud how you competed. And I remember just thinking like, oh, I didn't play well. And I was like, we're proud how you competed. And I can see like the sincerity and the love and the genuine, just how genuine they were. And this like gave me like a force field shield, and I was just so free to always compete, to fail, because I knew I had that love. Because at the end of the day, that's why we do things, right? We do things to feel loved, to feel welcome, to feel whole. As I've gone throughout my journey, we should know that we already are whole and loved. We shouldn't be searching outside of us for that, because it's going to be up to chance, right? But I played a year in Brazil. Brazil, they don't really care about growth mindset. Brazil, it's a very different way to teach volleyball. It's iron sharpens iron. And if you aren't good or you aren't playing well, then get off the court. Let someone else get in. And so there'd be games where when I first got there, I was playing pretty well, but I just wasn't ready. I wasn't ready, because when there was times where I wasn't playing well, people do this, or in practice, they say, Paul, Dustin, Paul. And I don't know the language. I'm just like, I'm so sorry. Because again, when I was younger, I didn't have friends. And so a lot of my actions were dictated just like wanting to fit in, wanting to be loved. Maybe some athletes feel like that too, I just want to feel loved. I want to feel accepted. And in Brazil, especially with the language and the environment, I just wilted. And they threw me back into this fixed mindset where I believed for me to be loved, for me to be accepted, for me to have friends, I had to play well. And playing well wasn't completely up to me. And so there would be games where I played well and I felt great. I feel so happy and everyone hugged me. And there were games where I didn't play well and I feel so sad, so ashamed. And there was practices when I go to practice. I remember I take the bus and I look at the bus driver. I was just like, I just want your life. I don't want to practice. I hate this so much. It makes me so sad and so depressed to go to practice, because I had such an attachment on I had to be great. And when I wasn't great, I was sad. And that sad turned into shame. And then the next year, I played half the year with shame. I was showing up to the court with the goal to not fail. The worst thing you can do. The worst thing you can do. And so I realized, once again, if I didn't change, I would be done. I would be done. My career's over. So I thought about it. What's the opposite of shame? For me, elevated emotional states like gratitude, trust, love. So I started doing some different things. I started journaling. Journaling is a huge factor for my continued success, because every day there's intention. Every day there's purpose. And at the end of the day, we reflect on what went well, because again, we're always so hard on ourselves, right? We need to be perfect as athletes. We need to be perfect. And when we aren't perfect, then it was a bad day. So reflecting on things that went well and realizing that maybe we didn't take a big step today, but we're still taking steps. We're taking steps. What went well? 3 things that went well. What was the biggest challenge of the day? Being honest with myself. And then from there, what did I learn from it? And what do I want to do differently tomorrow? So big questions that flip us back into this growth mindset where I have the failure, but great. I had this failure. I'm going to acknowledge it, and I'm going to use that failure into an opportunity of growth. It's going to be my teacher. And not only that, I'm going to take that failure and spin it as quickly as I can to tomorrow's intention. And so a big thing for me was journaling. And before I go on the court, I still do this now. I kind of stole this from Brazil. They're very, very religious, very spiritual there. And so before they go on the court, they touch the court and do like a little prayer. Before I go on the court, anytime when I go back to the court to start the game after a timeout, I'll take a knee and touch the floor, and I'll say to myself, thank you so much for this opportunity. There's no place I'd rather be. Boom, gratitude. Again, it's not that my cup is full. It's not my cup is half full. It's that I have a cup. I have this opportunity. And then from there, I'll say, thank you 10 times. If you want to try this after the Zoom, it's amazing. With my fingers, thank you, 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 thank you. Joy. This deep joy. You know, when I say it, I just smile. So with my fingers, I'll touch the floor. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then before the set starts, I will say, I'm loved, I'm safe, I'm enough. Love. And the last thing I'll say, and I don't know exactly what I believe in still. I'm starting to read more like religious scriptures, Eastern and Western, God, Hindu, Krishna, higher self, the universe. But I'll say, thank you so much for continuing to guide me in love and light. And so this trust that I'm meant to be here. And that, you know what, this is the experience that I want to have. And this is big for me, not only to start games, but maybe a timeout's called after I got ace 2 times in a row. And now I'm going back on the court saying, thank you so much for this opportunity. There's no place I'd rather be. And like flipping myself into this like growth mindset where it's like, yeah, this is challenging, but I want to be here. Because the power of the belief is huge, right? If we go on the court and we believe that we're going to get aced, what's going to happen? More likely we're going to get aced. And so flipping myself, tricking myself to these elevated emotional states have really helped me dealing with shame from a fixed mindset. But my parents helped me, huge. And then I had to get myself out of it after Brazil. Brazil crushed my soul. It crushed me.
You've got a lot of questions in the chat. Is it easier for me to read them to you so that you can just answer them rather than having to read?
Yeah. And then I'll be respectful of everyone's time, but I'm happy to stay here as long as possible. So as long as I'm giving value, you guys can stay on. If some of you have to leave, that's fine.
Sweet. Okay, so one question we have is, how can we get a list of your 24 daily micro habits?
Yeah, I can. It is definitely on my blog. I'll type my blog in right now. It's the first 2 blogs I've written, first 3. So I write about all the things that are on my list. I think I need to update it now because I added a couple things. I'll read it off just for the curious. So I started off spirulina, taking like a green algae in my smoothies, B12, creatine, supplements. When I first wake up, I'll make my bed and say thank you, accomplishing somewhat of a difficult task, something I don't want to do to start the day. It's easy to just get up and leave the blanket there. But accomplishing that task, setting myself up for intentional living, and the gratitude, saying thank you. Journaling, morning and evening, me and Rachel, we spoke a little bit about this. Maybe we can set up another Zoom where we talk about journaling. I sell a journal online, but give that to you for free, the one that I use. Rolling out, not eating processed food, getting extra work before or after practice, meditating 3 times throughout the day, reading. I like to eat, I buy by a plant-based diet, so I like to eat raw throughout the day into my last practice. I just feel I have better energy throughout the day. Watching video either on myself, another player, or another team. One thing I just started doing, learn 15. So having a theme throughout the week that I learn about. This week I'm going to learn more about the dichotomy of control. Doing some type of core workout or mobility. Write for 20 minutes of the day. Visualize. Cleaning my room, my house. Having a caffeine curfew at 2 p.m. Saying my affirmations. I supplement with mushrooms, reishi, shiitake, lion's mane, cordyceps, ashwagandha before, in the morning and at night, stretch, and CBD oil before bed to help me sleep. So.
Lots of good stuff. Okay, when you lose, how do you keep a good mindset?
There's a question I ask myself after every tough game. This is good because. This is good because ... And I have to answer it. I have to find the solution. Because what's the point of resenting something that's already happened? It's already happened, right? We have to love it. We have to love what is in life right now. So if we fight against it, not only are we going to have resentment, resistance, and anger, but that's also going to drain out to our personal lives, our parents, our girlfriends, our boyfriends, our friends. Because after that, it's like, hey, let's go eat some food, like a friend that watched the game. You're like, no, I don't want to. This used to be me all the time. I just let it go. You have to let it go. Let it go because it's already happened. But we also need to be conscious and mindful in finding the lesson. This is good because, I had a terrible float surfing game. This is good because next week I'm going to work more on float surf passing. I'm going to get to the gym early every single day. You lost on your tip coverage. This is good because I'm going to be more vocal as a libero on our tip coverage and organize it better, right? Without the failures, we don't really change how we train. So we need to have a different way we look at failures and being able to fail up. And as failures, as the truth. Failures are the truth. And with the failures, we can learn more. Some NBA teams talk about, losing more because they want to be challenged and realize what they have to address before the playoffs. If they're not challenged, they're just winning and they're just going to stay the same. So this is good because I write this on a sticky note and I have it in every house I live in overseas. This is good because. Take the power back. Don't let your external circumstance that you have no control over, or maybe just a little, but again, it's up to chance. And if something's up to chance is having that big of effect on you and your well-being, then something has to change.
Love that. Whenever you felt worry or fear before a game, what was your mindset to reset this?
Yeah. So when I feel fear, you have these physical symptoms like goosebumps, sweaty palms, your heart beating, right? It's the same thing when you're excited. Same thing when you're excited. So you have to ask yourself the question, how did I prepare? Did I prepare to the best of my ability? Or did I just kind of end up here? And so I think when I realized that I prepared well throughout the week, I watched film, I got extra reps, I got to bed early, I slept well, I ate clean. It's excitement. This is what I love to do, right? This is what I love to do. Of course I'm excited. And you know what? Those are the games that we should be most excited about, the games where it's like, I don't know if we're going to win. This is a big game, big team. I don't know. Because in these games, you're able to get much more in that flow state where there's not really thinking and you just allow your body to do it. And so the big thing, excitement and fear, it just goes down to how well you're prepared.
You talked about asking your mom for books on mindset and psychology. Is there one that stands out that you can recommend to us?
Yeah, absolutely. George Mumford, The Mindful Athlete. Someone asked me yesterday, if you still look at my story, I have a couple books I posted up. Carol Dweck, Mindset, which talks about growth mindset, fixed mindset. I think it's really powerful to be conscious of this. You don't have to read the whole book, but just to be conscious of the concept.
When you meditate, do you visualize or just try to clear your head? And do you use an app?
Yeah, so I think the biggest misconception is clearing your head. Even if you want to do it, you can't do it. And so for me, I used to use an app. I used Headspace for about 4 years. And what I do now is I got to 1 year where I went to like a 10-day meditation retreat, a silent meditation retreat, where you meditate for like 10 hours a day. And after that, I was like, I don't think I need this app anymore. And so what I do is I just focus. I'll sit down and I just focus on the sensation of the breath coming in and out of my nose, and just try to keep my consciousness here. Of course, there's going to be times where I'm going to be caught thinking, because we can't just turn off our thinking. There's a lot of new science right now that talks about that our thinking really isn't even us. It's these mental modules, these 7 subselves. And so it's just like when thinking occurs, I try to be as quickly as possible to be conscious of it, observe it, let it pass, and continue back to my breath. Because same thing in the game, right? There's so much stimuli. And if you get caught in that like kind of tornado of thoughts or self-deprecating thoughts, it's not going to help you be present. It's not going to help you side out. It's not going to have clarity, focus, confidence. And so just observing those thoughts, using it as kind of like the analogy, like a tornado, and being in that eye of the tornado, that centered spot, calm, clear. And so we can get back there by moving our consciousness back to our breathing. So kind of answering another question that might come up, what do I do during difficult moments of the match? Come back to my breath. Come back to my breath. It's the easiest way to refocus and be present.
With all your experience playing, what do you value most in a leader?
I think it's just trust. And that trust comes from their ability to lead. And I guess I say the same thing, but their ability to work. First person there, last person to leave. First person to grab someone and pick them up off the floor. Correcting people but not making them wrong. And then building the trust outside of the court, right? Inside the court, it's not so genuine at times, because you can also benefit from being a nice person, but reaching out to them outside the court, maybe organizing a team function, having lunch with them, going to a movie. And so just outside the court, I think there's a lot of leadership that can be done there.
All right, we've got a couple more. When you notice a teammate getting discouraged or angry, what can you do to support them and keep them focused on the game?
See yourself in them. And so there's times where you're going to get frustrated and angry too. And just try and think of like, what helps you reset? And usually it's like seeing that genuine compassion in someone else's eye, where it's just like, hey, you got this, like instead of like, come on, or like, oh, come on. It's like, hey, you got it. You're a great player. You're going to get the next one. And so for me, again, I just try to always err with love and compassion. And when I see that doubt in other players, maybe guys can just, I don't know if girls do this, but when I see the doubt in other players, like for example, I played for an outside hitter this year who spent 8 years in the Plus League, the Polish league, but was never a starter. And so some problems with confidence, but he was a starter for us and we needed him to play. And so there would be times where he was like very anxious and he would kill a ball and he'd come down just kind of like, oh, like about time I killed the ball, or like, oh, finally. And I push him and just like shake him out of it. And he's like, what? And I'm just like, yeah, like you're the man, like let's go. And just kind of like snap him out of it, where he's like, yeah, I am the man. Because, a lot of times, even like say, for example, as a libero, you can side out 4 balls in a row, but all those balls were bad passes. So in the back of your mind, you're like, oh, those are bad passes. But you have the point, right? And so it's good sometimes to get snapped out of it. So I always think it's good to come in together, like 100%. You should always come into the huddle and bring everyone external. And I don't know if girls do this, but I like this one just to push guys sometime. It's just like, but it's not like a negative push. It's like, you're the man push.
There's definitely some girls that do that. Fires them up. Okay, 2 more. Are there any books that you would recommend to help someone start to learn to meditate, if they've never done it before?
I know there's some out there, but I don't know. I think the best thing to do is to download Headspace. I think when I got it, there was a 1-week free trial. And then even if you do get the subscription, it's not that much. But I think it's perfect for kids because they have like kind of like goofy cartoons that kind of show like what meditation is, or like it talks about like thoughts or just like kind of cars going across the road, and it's just like, just observe them. You don't have to like fight against it, just observe it. And so they do a really good job explaining meditation and what we should be pursuing, because the biggest myth is just like, all right, now I'm going to have zero thoughts, which is like impossible.
All right, last one. When we journal, what would be the best things to focus on?
All of them. Let me see. So, I mean, I think the big thing, there is no big thing. So I'll tell you what we journal about, what we will journal about. Morning gratitude and intention to start the day. So what am I grateful for? Again, you start out with a cup, and it's just like, I don't need my cup half full. I don't need it full. I have a cup. Like, how amazing. Like, I wake up in Southern California. There's a sun outside. I've been talking to so many teams across the country, and I make comments about like the sun being out, so I'm happy, and they're like, oh, we don't have a sun. There's a sun outside. You know what? This COVID is unfortunate, but my family's healthy. You know, this has been unfortunate, but you know what? I've learned to cook. I've learned to do this. You know, we have to be intentional finding the gratitude, because if not, we're always going to find the lack and scarcity. So 3 things that you're grateful for. What will be my focus or intention today? I use this usually for volleyball. So some things I've worked on, it's like, I'm going to be relentless on defense today. There isn't going to be a single ball that goes down that I don't dive for. Maybe it's a ball hit 40 feet away and I still dive for it. And it's just building this like relentless like defender. Maybe sometimes it's, I'm going to get to practice early and work on creating space between my body and holding my platform, right? We can do so many reps, but if they're not intentional, are we learning or not? So being more intentional for our reps. Maybe outside hitter, I'm going to work on my tip and just holding my arm high as long as I can and then tipping. And so there's a lot of different things we can work on. 3 actions or tasks that are completely within my control. Powerful, right? And so you saying that you're going to have a good practice is not in your control, right? You can't say, I'm going to have a good practice. I'm going to have a good game. Because if you could do this, then everyone would do it every single day. And so 3 things that are completely within your control. It could be something like, I'm going to wake up and meditate today. I am going to cook my food rather than eat at McDonald's. I am going to get to practice early and get extra reps. I'm going to work on my communication abilities, because usually I'm quiet, but the coach is asking for me to be more vocal. Or let's say I'm going to only be on Instagram for 30 minutes at night because I know how important sleep is. So things that are in your control that, again, you are becoming a co-creator in your development. It's not your coach. It's not your mom. It's you. You know what's best for you. And throughout your journey, you're going to learn more things and how you can be even more intentional. But this is so powerful because you are becoming a co-creator. You know what's important. You know what you need to do. But with this, now you commit yourself to doing it because you hold yourself accountable. At the end of the day, the first question you'll answer, 3 things that I'm most proud of today. When I first started doing this, I was with the national team. And it was just like, every day sucked, you know, because I'm passing against Matt Anderson, Max Holt, Mike Christensen, right? The best servers in the world. But I believe I should be perfect. We always believe I should be perfect. And so at the end of the day, I always left like, I didn't do anything well. And so I'd have to find things I did well. So even if I had like an awful practice, I can say, you know, I got to practice early, did some extra reps. My effort on defense was great. And, you know, I made some great passes in the seam today. Yeah, you know, I got aced a couple times, but I made some great passes in the seam. And so now we realize that, okay, it wasn't the worst day ever. It wasn't the best day ever. But you know what? I did some great things. And that pushes us forward rather than having this burnout because we just believe that everything sucks and we're not playing well. And then we hit that burnout. So realizing there's 3 things we did well. Today's greatest test was, maybe it was float serves. You know, I got beat high in float serves. What did I learn from it? I need to be quicker with my footwork and creating space outside my body. What do I want to improve tomorrow? Float serve passing. Today was tough, so I want to improve my float serve passing tomorrow. What can I do differently? And like, boom, problem solution like that, right? What do I want to do differently tomorrow? I want to get to practice early and work on holding my platform and seeing where my feet are. And the last thing, it's RSF, which stands for Relentless Solution Focus. And so this is something that was really difficult for me too when I first started journaling. And one is like a problem happened and I focused on the problem. 10, a problem happened and I immediately found a solution. And so something that always happened to me was there was this one passer I play with who, even though it was his team, he would back out. And as a libero for the stats, it would be my ace. Awful. How could he? Always does this, right? And so the problem, I would think before, it's like, oh, he did this. He always does this. Oh, it's my ace. Now my percentage is lower. Am I going to play next drill? Am I going to make the next traveling trip? Just because of one ace, I'm having all these thoughts, right? But with RSF, after using this for a while, it would be like, ooh, I got to know better. Like he does that. I'll be quicker in the seam. I'll make sure I'm a better communicator so he knows that his ball. I'm not going to make him wrong, but I'm going to be a good communicator. And I'm going to make sure I'm always going to go behind him because I know that this happens. And I'm also going to have self-compassion for myself because the most important ball is the next ball. And I don't want to carry this luggage with me because it's going to take away from my confidence and my focus. So everything is important, in my opinion.
All right. Well, if your question did not get answered, I know that Dustin's pretty responsive on his social media, so I'm sure you could hit him up there. Or if anything pops up, is there another way that they could get in contact with you if their questions come up later? Because I know that always happens for teenagers.
Yeah. I've gotten such great feedback. And so any questions or comments, I'm happy. Again, a lot of people look at me like Team USA, but, I go through all these problems too. And when I was your age, I was on a 2 team. But for whatever reason, I was just stubborn. My mom says it's because I'm Swiss. I'm stubborn. But, I think anything's possible if you start asking the right questions. And if you really believe in yourself, you don't have to run through the wall. You can find ways to go over the wall. And talking to teams, my goal right now is I feel the responsibility to share what I've learned throughout my career because I don't have a 40-inch vertical. I'm not 6'9". I'm just this little stubby guy. Now I'm a little stubby bald guy who just, isn't that quick, but, has had to work at it a lot. And I feel my responsibility to share this with teams and athletes that are curious to how they can consistently overperform. And that's my goal, to be of value because, like I said, I speak to my Instagram audience as if it was, a younger version of myself, someone that would just be so happy to have any idea how to be more intentional with how they compete on and off the court.
Well, Dustin, thank you. This was so awesome. So much value in a lot of things that you said, and it aligns with a lot of what our coaches are trying to relate to our athletes too. And I think it's really important for them to hear this type of stuff, especially right now. So thank you for taking the time to chat with our Wave athletes and a couple of our Wave coaches. We are very, very grateful.
Yeah, you're welcome. And then, again, if you guys have more questions, write me on Instagram. Hopefully we can connect again and go a little deeper into some of the tools I use where it's actually you guys, again, are being co-creators and you're taking a hand in your development, especially those that are passionate, that you have these big goals. I want to give you the tools to start using so you get more out of each and every day.
Sounds great. All right, guys, thank you for joining us today. And make sure you reach out to Dustin if you have questions or if you just have comments and feedback for him. Other than that, go Wave, go USA, and we'll see everybody later.
Thank you, Anna's hotline bling. Thank you, guys. Talk to you soon.
Bye, guys.